Yo, so I bet a few people have been waiting for this video. This is the first video since getting the van and all the repairs I've had to do in order to get it to where it is now. I spent a lot more money than expected and some problems still aren't even fixed. Just trying to find the root of the cause of the problem is, I think there's only one thing left. So let's get into it and let's see what I've had to fix or repair on this van. So while we're here, why don't we start with the front of the van or inside the engine bay. I've had to replace a few things. Let me go get the parts and open this bonnet. So as you can see, my hands are a little full. I've had to replace and change a few things on this van. So let's put these down and let's go through them. First things first, there's no heating in the van. And there still isn't any heating in the van. That is the problem that we're still trying to sort out. So we're trying to make sure that the hot water or the coolant was mixing with the cold coolant and everything, and that was circulating. So the first thing I replaced was we got a new thermostat, and that still didn't solve that problem. So we're like, well, what else could it be? What else can we check? So I checked the water pump, and that looked like it's been replaced recently, as well as the radiator. And I think the previous owner may have done that. Disconnected all the hoses on the full cooling system, checked the heater matrix that it was going through, and the heater box and all the controls on the dash were working, and everything seems to be working, but still no hot air. The only thing it could then possibly be is the heater matrix itself. Now, there's a guy, Steve, who works at Heathrow Trucks. He's a real nice guy. He had a breaker van basically. He said, look, if you want to rip the dash out, feel free, but I can't say it's going to be easy or it's going to be the problem, and basically give me the go-ahead to just become familiar with the workings of the heater box and the heater matrix behind the dash, and to check everything, which made it then easy for me to check mine. And everything seems to be okay, but I've still got no heating too. I may still need a heat matrix. So that may have been replaced in vain, but at least I know it's done. The next thing is the glow plugs. I replaced 3 out of the 4. I did buy a whole 4, but for some reason with these engines and known engines, it's the same on my old transport as well, sometimes the glow plugs can get seized in, and cylinder 1 did not want to come out. We drove the van, got up to temperature to try and make it a bit easier to crack them off with the heat of the engine. Still didn't want to, so we've only replaced 3 of the 4 glow plugs, thinking that it was going to help with the starting problem. Now, I'm sure I may have mentioned this before in the previous video, that there was a coil light and sometimes an engine management light coming on, and sometimes I'd turn the van on and crank, 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 not start, crank, 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 not start, and eventually it would get going. So when it comes to starting problem, you always check, things like glow plugs or spark plugs on petrol vehicles. So we replaced all these, and this actually made the problem a hell of a lot worse. It went from 2 or 3 times maybe trying to start it to 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So we replaced these, and at the end of this video, I'm just going to put this out there now, that I am going to actually put like a price list of all the price of the parts I've had to, and the labour. But yeah, replaced these, still didn't fix it. So the only thing it could have then been was this. Now this is a glow plug relay or solenoid maybe, but this is for the glow plugs. This is actually underneath the ECU for the vehicle, and the power goes basically straight from the battery or your start motor, etc., through this to the glow plugs to give them the heat ready to start. I replaced this, and this was 140 quid for this one part, but since putting this on, it has made the vehicle 90% better. It still has an off day and it might take a little while to crank over, but I still sometimes got an engine management light or a coil light on, and I put my diagnostics on, and it said to check the crankshaft sensor. These on the bell housing for the gearbox where it mounts onto the engine, that is where the crankshaft position sensor is housed. It's like an e-Torx bit, which is like a socket, but like a Torx bit, but a socket one. That's held on with one of those, and it's one of these parts here. It's just a magnet that literally traces something on the flywheel, and it knows how much it's cranking over. I had to replace this part also, and I think combined with this, and the glow plug relay, it has made it a hell of a lot better. It's still not 100% like I was saying, but it's definitely a lot better. Let's go on to the next thing. So another thing with the coolant problem on this van, we thought to check every coolant pipe. Now you got like the big pipes here which goes from like the radiator to the thermostat, and you got the smaller pipes that return, but I checked all of them. And the pipe that comes from the engine that would then go up to the heating matrix, which is where you then get your hot air, comes out of the EGR valve. Now I have got a second-hand replacement EGR valve. I am yet to fit this and to try. The only problem I have with my vehicle is that mine's had an EGR delete. Now to do an EGR delete or DPF delete or anything like that on a vehicle, you have to remove something. And on mine, this massive component at the top where the sense or the connector will plug in, that whole bit is removed. It's just the metal housing where my hand is. That's still part of the vehicle. So I'm not sure when they've done the EGR delete if that's left open or left closed. And for some reason the coolant still circulates through. I've tested it and it goes through. So I can't see how or why this would stop temperature. So that's why it's not fitted. On to the next bit. Just a quick clip. There's the new thermostat. Down there is a relatively shiny new looking water pump, and this looks like a brand new radiator. So on to the next part. Right, so let's make our way back into the cab of the vehicle. So this part here is a heater resistor for a Mercedes Sprinter or VW Crafter. As you can tell, it's definitely had better days. Now with these vans or any vehicle, they all have some sort of resistor of sort. Now usually a resistor though is for the blower motor, which is the actual fan itself that blows out the air through the dash into you to make you hotter or colder. But as a serviceable part for £20, I replaced this too, hoping and praying that something might change, something might get better, but nope, definitely didn't. Now let's get inside the cab. So this bad boy. Now before I had a really old shitty little single DIN stereo that didn't really work, and it would always stay on when the van was off. So I went online and I searched Mercedes Sprinter stereos, and I wanted something that was clean, I wanted something big, I wanted something double DIN that would fill up that whole area. So I got myself this stereo. This stereo was about £160. It's a Android stereo, but you can obviously connect your phone through an app called Z-Link, which is built into it if you've got an iPhone or an Apple device. So you can then have your Google Maps, your Apple Music and all that stuff play through the stereo. And you can also have your music up and your Google Maps up at the same time. So when you're driving around, it's very easy to use and very safe to use, for the fact that you can have your music and you can have your maps all into one device, which makes you not then want to touch it to skip from like certain applications. So you want your maps up or you want to change your music, you don't have to, because it's all there together, and that is, I think, really safe. So yeah, boom. So this is the final part that I've had to buy for this vehicle, and it was the prop shaft. This was the most expensive bit. It was meant to be £1,000, and somehow I got it for 700. I don't know how. Just made a couple of phone calls, and it's exactly the same part numbers and the website that I found. I just called them up to pay over the phone, and I got it for £700. So this had a few problems with it. So when I was driving the vehicle, it sounded like a wheel bearing, like a constant humming and droning sound. I thought it was a wheel bearing, got it looked at, it wasn't, it was a prop shaft. There's a couple of things on this prop shaft, and let me show you. So if we get the front section, this pivots this way, but so stiff. Now this is meant to have a lot more movement in this, but even if I put it like this, I can't get it to turn the other way. So this U-joint is absolutely naffed. And the bearings on this one aren't too bad. See, bearings are okay, but let me go get the other one. Now on this one, watch this bearing. Spins loads, but the play is absolutely fucked. So this had to be replaced. This bearing was fucked. That one's not too bad, but the U-joint on that one's screwed. The U-joint on this one is notchy as hell. So stiff. So had to replace that, and now I'm covered. So there's one more thing I've had to do on this van, and let me just explain what. So last but no means least was here, but I haven't actually replaced anything here, but I took the van for a drive after doing the prop shaft, and I went on a long drive, went to like Ipswich, and my brakes were squeaking like mad, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with this? So I took all the wheels off, took the calipers off, and I saw that the pads were sticking in the caliper, in the sliders, and that the pins, but the caliper was slide on itself, one or two of them were like on the same side. I can't remember if it's both on or one, but the caliper could barely move. It was like seats, so I had to get the pins out, which luckily I managed to get them out. I cleaned them all up, bit of copper slip, and I put it all in, cleaned up all the pads, copper slipped them up, and since then everything's been okay, so I got lucky there. Right, so please excuse my filthy hands from that bloody prop shaft, but let's get into the prices for things in this van. There is another thing actually that I forgot to add, which has also been done. So I've had to write them on my hand. The thermostat was £58 from Euro Car Parts, and along with that I bought the glow plugs at £15 each, or £14.99, and I got 4 of them, so it's basically 60 quid for those. And the crankshaft sensor was also from Euros at £38, so that's my bits from Euro Car Parts. I had to get the glow plug relay from GSF Car Parts. So online it's £202, but when I bought it was actually £140. I got the prop shaft, that was £700 from someone online. It did say £1,000, but when I called I managed to get it for 700. I'm not complaining. I also had to have my crankshaft pulley done. That was £48 for the part, and I got that part fitted with an hour's labour. It was 60 quid. And also when I had the thermostat and the glow plugs done, that cost me 60 quid as well, so we'll add that onto this list. What else have we got? We've got the heater resistor, that was £20 from Amazon. And I also got my stereo, which was £160 from eBay, and it's not a branded one, but I absolutely love it and it works a treat, so I can't complain. So I think altogether we've got thermostat, plugs, crankshaft sensor, prop shaft, heater resistor, stereo, and the crankshaft pulley with all the parts and all the labour costs right there. Can't believe it. Anyway, give us a like, give us a comment, give us a share. Don't forget to subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.